The restaurant lights burned too bright. Marcus sat frozen in his borrowed suit, the fabric tight across his shoulders. Across from him, a young woman held up her phone, laughing. Tables nearby erupted in whispers and pointed fingers. Someone shouted, "Did you really think he was good enough for you?" Marcus stood slowly, hands trembling. He bowed his head and walked toward the exit. Laughter chased him into the street. Near the coat check, a woman in a gray suit watched the entire scene. Her hand gripped her briefcase until her knuckles turned white. A memory flashed through her mind. She had come here for a business dinner, but what she just witnessed would change everything. 3 days earlier, Marcus pushed his mop across the office floor at 6 in the morning. The building was empty except for the hum of fluorescent lights. He worked quietly, the way he always did, invisible to most people who passed through these halls during business hours. Around 8, the young employees started arriving. They clustered near the coffee machine, scrolling through their phones and laughing about dating apps. "Hey, Marcus," one of them called out. A guy named Tyler with gelled hair and expensive sneakers. "You're single, right?" Marcus kept mopping. "I'm fine, thanks. Come on, man. We could help you out. Set up a profile." The others joined in, playful and insistent. They meant well, Marcus told himself. They were young. They didn't understand that some doors, once closed, stayed that way. But they wouldn't let it go. They took a photo of him when he wasn't looking, created a profile on some app he'd never heard of, typed up a bio that made him sound lonely and desperate. There, done. "You're gonna thank us for this." Marcus wanted to say no, wanted to delete it all. But Tyler's phone buzzed that same afternoon. "Dude, you got a match already. She wants to meet you." Marcus felt something stir inside him, something he thought had died 4 years ago. Hope. Small and fragile, but there. That evening, he went home to his son. The boy was 8 years old, doing homework at the kitchen table. "Where are you going, Dad?" Marcus smoothed down his shirt. "Nowhere important. Finish your math, okay?" But when he looked at himself in the mirror later, wearing the one suit he still owned from his old life, he let himself imagine it. Just for a moment. That maybe he could be more than the man who cleaned floors. That maybe someone could see him as worthy again. He didn't know the photo they used wasn't really meant for a date. It was bait for a joke. 28 floors above the city, Elizabeth Hart stood in her corner office, arms crossed. The skyline stretched out before her glass towers, blinking lights, a kingdom she had built from nothing. Her assistant knocked lightly on the door. "Miss Hart, your schedule for today. 15 meetings, 3 networking events tonight. The board dinner is at 7. Elizabeth nodded without looking away from the window. The assistant left. The door clicked shut. Silence returned. Elizabeth had learned to live inside that silence. It was cleaner than conversation, safer than trust. She left the office at 6:30, drove herself home in her black sedan. The house was large and cold. Marble floors, high ceilings, everything in its place, except for one room. Her daughter sat in the corner of the playroom, knees pulled to her chest. She was 7 years old. She hadn't spoken in 3 weeks. Elizabeth knelt down slowly. "Sweetheart, it's dinner time." The girl didn't move. Elizabeth tried again. "I made your favorite. Pasta with butter, just the way you like it." The pediatrician had said it clearly. Your daughter isn't sick. Not physically. She's suffering from severe anxiety after the accident. She needs emotional healing. Therapy, yes, but more than that. She needs to feel safe again. Medicine won't fix this. Elizabeth had nodded, written the check, scheduled the appointments, but nothing worked. She sat on the floor beside her daughter now, reaching out to touch her hand. The girl flinched and pulled away. Elizabeth's chest tightened. For the first time in years, she felt powerless. She had closed billion-dollar deals, fired executives without flinching, rebuilt her life after a divorce that nearly destroyed her. But she couldn't reach her own child. She stood and walked to the window. The city glittered below, indifferent and cold. Elizabeth Hart had everything, and nothing at all. Marcus arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes early. He straightened his tie 3 times before walking through the door. The hostess looked him up and down. "I'm Marcus Reed. I'm meeting someone." She checked her tablet and smiled thinly. She led him to a table near the center of the room. He sat down and waited. The woman arrived 10 minutes later. She was younger than her photo suggested. She looked at him and immediately pulled out her phone. "Oh my God," she said loudly. "This is actually happening." Marcus didn't understand. "I'm sorry?" She laughed, turned the phone toward him. The screen showed a live stream his face. Right now, from her angle. Comments scrolled past. Laughing emojis. Cruel words. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Around them, other diners turned to watch. Someone at the next table snickered. "This is a joke," she continued. "A social experiment. Look at you. Did you really believe someone like me would date someone like you?" The room tilted. Marcus gripped the edge of the table. A man at the bar shouted, "Dude, you got pranked." More laughter. Phones came out. Flashes. Recording. Marcus stood. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to." "To what? Embarrass yourself?" The woman grinned. Too late. He turned toward the exit. That's when Elizabeth walked in. She had the wrong address. Her client dinner was supposed to be at another restaurant. But she was here now, and she saw everything. The man in the too tight suit. The woman filming him. The crowd enjoying his pain. One of the young men near the bar noticed her. "Hey, isn't that Elizabeth Hart, the CEO?" Someone else laughed. "Maybe she's into this kind of guy too. You know, charity work." Elizabeth stopped. Her hand tightened around her briefcase. She looked at Marcus. His face was pale. His hands shook. But his eyes, there was something in them she recognized. Dignity being destroyed. She had seen that look before, in her own mirror. Marcus walked past her toward the door. He didn't look back. The laughter followed him into the night. Elizabeth stood frozen in the entryway, unable to move. The next morning, Marcus returned to work. He mopped the lobby floor at 6, the way he always did. His hands moved automatically. His mind was somewhere else. He didn't notice the small girl standing near the elevator until she was right in front of him. She wore a blue dress and white shoes. Her hair was neatly brushed, but her eyes were empty. Marcus stopped mopping. "Hey there, you okay?" The girl said nothing. She just stared at him. He looked around. No parents. Just this child, alone in a corporate lobby at 6:30 in the morning. "Are you lost?" She shook her head slowly. Marcus set the mop against the wall and crouched down to her level. "What's your name?" She didn't answer, but she extended her hand toward him. Her fingers trembled. Marcus looked at his own hands. They were wet and rough from years of cleaning. He wiped them on his pants, but they were still stained. "I don't think you want to hold my hand, sweetheart. It's not very clean." The girl kept her hand out, waiting. Something shifted inside Marcus. He reached out slowly and took her small hand in his. Her fingers were cold. He held them gently. "You're safe," he said quietly. The girl looked up at him. For the first time, her eyes focused. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. But her breathing slowed. Her grip tightened just a little. They stood there together in the empty lobby. The fluorescent lights hummed above them. Outside, the city was waking up. Marcus didn't know how long they stayed like that. Time felt suspended. Then footsteps echoed across the marble floor. Elizabeth Hart rushed toward them, her heels clicking sharply. "Lily, there you are!" She stopped when she saw them. Her daughter, holding the hand of the janitor. The man from the restaurant. Lily hadn't touched anyone in 3 weeks, not even her own mother, but she was holding his hand. Elizabeth's breath caught in her throat. Elizabeth found Marcus 2 days later in the parking garage. He was emptying trash bins near the stairwell. "Mr. Reed." Marcus turned. He recognized her immediately. "Miss Hart." She stepped closer, her expression controlled. "I need to speak with you about my daughter." Marcus wiped his hands on his work pants. "She seemed like a good kid. I hope she's okay." "She's not." Elizabeth's voice was steady, but her hands gripped her purse tightly. "She hasn't been okay since the accident. She won't speak. Won't eat properly. Won't let anyone touch her." "But she held your hand." Marcus said nothing. "I'm not asking you to explain it. I'm asking you to help her." Marcus shook his head slowly. "I can't." Elizabeth reached into her purse and pulled out a checkbook. "Name your price, whatever you need. I'll pay it. It's not about money." Marcus met her eyes. "I'm a janitor, Miss Hart. I clean floors. I'm not a therapist. I'm not qualified to help your daughter." "She doesn't need qualified. She needs someone who sees her. I can't." Elizabeth wrote out a check anyway, left the amount blank, held it out to him. "Fill in whatever number you want." Marcus didn't take it. His jaw tightened. "I had a daughter once. She was 5 years old. I couldn't save her." His voice cracked. "I can't go through that again. Watching a child suffer, getting close, caring, and then..." He stopped himself. Elizabeth lowered the check. "I'm not asking you to save her. I'm asking you to be present. Just that." "I'm sorry." Marcus picked up the trash bag. "I can't be what you need. Find someone else." He walked away. Elizabeth stood alone in the dim garage, the blank check still in her hand. She looked down at it. Then she let it fall to the ground. That night, Marcus sat in his small apartment. His son was asleep in the next room. The walls were thin. The furniture was second-hand, but it was home. He opened the drawer beside his bed and pulled out a photograph. His wife, Sarah. Smiling in the sunlight, her hair blowing in the wind. Beside her, a little girl with pigtails. Emma. 5 years old in the photo. Forever 5. 4 years ago, Sarah was diagnosed with cancer. Stage 4. The doctors gave them 6 months. Marcus sold everything, the house, the car, his business to pay for treatment. It bought them another year, but not a cure. Sarah died on a Tuesday morning in spring. Emma was only 4 then. Too young to understand why Mommy wasn't coming home. Marcus tried to hold it together. He took a job as a janitor, moved into a cheaper place. His mother-in-law helped with Emma while he worked. Then one afternoon, there was an accident. His mother-in-law was driving Emma to the park. A truck ran a red light. Emma died instantly. Marcus lost everything in 18 months. He hadn't held a child's hand since then. Hadn't allowed himself to feel that kind of closeness. It hurt too much. Until Lily. Across town, Elizabeth sat in her daughter's room. Lily was asleep, finally. It had taken 2 hours of sitting beside her bed in silence. Elizabeth walked to her own bedroom and opened her laptop. She scrolled through old emails, messages from her ex-husband, accusations, lies, threats about custody. The divorce had been ugly. He had cheated. She had fought. He wanted their daughter out of spite, not love. 6 months ago, Lily was with him. He was supposed to be watching her, but he was distracted. On his phone, arguing with his new girlfriend. Lily wandered into the street. The car stopped in time, but the trauma didn't. She hadn't been the same since. Elizabeth closed the laptop. She walked to the window and looked out at the city lights. She had built an empire, controlled boardrooms, fired people without hesitation. But she couldn't reach her own daughter. 2 people, 2 wounds, both shaped by loss. Both afraid to trust again, neither knowing they were about to save each other. Elizabeth found Marcus again 3 days later, this time in the parking lot outside the building. She stepped in front of his car. Marcus rolled down the window. "Miss Hart, I already told you. She's getting worse." Elizabeth's voice was raw. "She won't eat. She barely sleeps. The doctors say if she doesn't improve soon, they'll have to hospitalize her. Marcus gripped the steering wheel. I'm sorry. I really am. But I can't help you. No, you can. Elizabeth moved closer. I saw it. She responded to you. For the first time in months, she reached out to someone. That was one moment. It doesn't mean anything. It means everything. Elizabeth's composure cracked. My daughter is dying, not from disease, from fear, from loneliness, and I don't know how to reach her anymore. Marcus looked away. Find a professional. Someone trained. We've tried 12 therapists. She won't speak to any of them. Elizabeth's hands trembled. But she held your hand. That doesn't make me qualified. I'm not asking you to be qualified. I'm asking you to be human. Marcus shook his head. You think money can fix this. You think you can hire someone to care. I'm not trying to hire you. I'm begging you. You have power, resources, everything I don't. Use them. Elizabeth stepped back. Her eyes were wet. You think power matters? I have influence over thousands of people. I can move millions of dollars with one signature, but I can't get my daughter to eat breakfast. I can't make her feel safe. Her voice broke. Marcus stared at her. For the first time, he saw past the suit, past the title, past the armor. He saw a mother, terrified, helpless, just like he had been. I lost my daughter, he said quietly. I won't survive losing another one. He started the engine and drove away. Elizabeth stood alone in the empty lot. The video went viral 3 days later. Someone had recorded the restaurant scene and posted it online. The caption read, "Janitor thinks he's good enough for a real date. Watch what happens." Within 24 hours, it had 2 million views. Marcus didn't know until his supervisor called him into the office. "We need to talk." The man's face was stern. He turned his computer screen around. The video was playing. Marcus watched himself stand up, watched himself walk away in shame. "This is from our building?" Marcus nodded. "You understand this reflects poorly on the company. Our clients have seen this. They're asking questions. I didn't do anything wrong. You embarrassed yourself publicly. That's enough." The supervisor slid a paper across the desk. "We're letting you go. Effective immediately." Marcus stared at the termination letter. "But we have a reputation to maintain." Marcus stood slowly. He picked up the letter, walked to his locker, collected his few belongings. Outside, he stood on the sidewalk with his bag. The afternoon sun felt too bright. Cars passed. People walked by without seeing him. His phone rang. His son. "Dad, when are you coming home?" Marcus closed his eyes. "Soon, buddy. I'm hungry. I'll pick something up on the way." He hung up, checked his bank account on his phone. $218. Rent was due in 5 days. $600. He had no job, and a child depending on him. Marcus walked toward the bus stop. Each step felt heavier than the last. Across the street, a billboard advertised luxury apartments. Live the life you deserve. Marcus looked at it for a long moment. Then he kept walking. Behind him, inside the building, Elizabeth watched from her office window. She saw him leave, saw him stop, saw him continue alone into the city. She picked up her phone. That night, Marcus sat in his apartment with his son. They ate instant noodles at the small kitchen table. The boy talked about school, about his friends, about a drawing he made in art class. Marcus tried to listen, tried to smile, but his mind was elsewhere. There was a knock at the door. Marcus stood, looked through the peephole. No one there. He opened the door. Lily stood in the hallway, alone. She wore pajamas and bare feet. In her hands, she held a piece of paper. Marcus looked down the hallway. "Where's your mom?" Lily didn't answer. She held out the paper. Marcus took it. It was a drawing. 2 stick figures holding hands, one tall, one small. Above them, a sun, Beneath them, she had written in careful letters, "Please stay." Marcus knelt down. "Lily, how did you get here?" She pointed down the hall. Elizabeth appeared from around the corner. Her hair was loose, no makeup. She looked exhausted. "I didn't bring her," Elizabeth said quietly. She walked out of the car on her own. First time she's done that in months. Marcus looked at the little girl. "You came here to find me." Lily nodded. Something inside Marcus broke. He thought of Emma, of the daughter he couldn't save, of all the moments he never got to have with her. He looked at Elizabeth. "If I do this, if I try to help, I can't promise anything. I'm not a miracle worker. I'm just a man who's lost everything." "That's exactly why she trusts you," Elizabeth said. Marcus stood. He looked at his son, who was watching from the kitchen doorway. "Dad?" the boy said. "Who is she?" Marcus turned back to Lily. She was still holding his hand. Her fingers were small and warm. He thought of Emma, of how she used to hold his hand the same way. He couldn't save his daughter, but maybe he could help this one. "Okay," he said. "I'll try." Lily looked up at him, and for the first time since the accident, she smiled. The first session happened in the park 2 days later. Marcus met Elizabeth and Lily near the fountain. It was early morning. The air was cool. Few people were around. Elizabeth started to follow them, but Marcus shook his head. "She needs space. Wait here." Elizabeth hesitated, then nodded. Marcus walked with Lily to a bench under a large oak tree. They sat down. He didn't speak, didn't ask questions, just sat. Lily stared at the ground. Minutes passed. Marcus noticed fallen leaves scattered around their feet. He picked one up, turned it over in his hands. The edges were brown and curled. "You know what's interesting about leaves?" he said quietly. "They fall every year. People think that means the tree is dying. But it's not. The tree is just letting go of what it doesn't need anymore, making space for something new." He held the leaf out to Lily. She looked at it, then at him. "Sometimes we hold on to things because we're scared," Marcus continued. "Scared that if we let go, there'll be nothing left. But that's not true. When you let go of the hurt, that's when new things can grow." Lily reached out slowly, took the leaf from his hand. She held it carefully, studied it. Then she stood and walked a few feet away. She crouched down and began collecting more leaves. One by one, red ones, yellow ones, brown ones. Marcus watched, didn't interfere. After several minutes, Lily returned. She had a small pile of leaves in her arms. She sat down beside Marcus and began arranging them on the bench between them. She made a pattern, a circle, then a face. 2 eyes. A smile. Marcus looked at the leaf face. "That's beautiful." Lily touched the smile she'd created. Then she looked up at Marcus, and she spoke. One word. Quiet. Almost a whisper. "Daddy." Marcus felt his chest tighten. He understood. She wasn't calling him that. She was remembering. Processing. "Yeah," he said gently. "I bet your daddy would love this." Lily leaned against his shoulder. Across the park, Elizabeth watched. She covered her mouth with her hand. Tears streamed down her face. Her daughter had spoken. The sessions continued. 3 times a week, always in the park, always in the morning. By the second week, Lily began speaking in short sentences. "I like the birds. Can we go to the swings? I'm cold." Marcus brought her a jacket the next time. She wore it without protest. They drew pictures with sidewalk chalk, built towers from stones, sat in comfortable silence watching clouds. One afternoon, Marcus brought origami paper. He showed Lily how to fold a crane. His hands moved slowly, deliberately. She copied each fold with intense concentration. When she finished, she held up the paper bird. "It's flying away," she said. "Where's it going?" Marcus asked. "Somewhere safe." Marcus nodded. "That's a good place to go." Lily looked at him. "Did your bird fly away too?" Marcus's throat tightened. She was asking about Emma without knowing it. Yeah, a long time ago. Does it still hurt? Every day. Lily reached over and put her small hand on his. Me too. They sat like that until the sun began to set. Elizabeth watched from a bench nearby. She came to every session now, never interfering, just present. One evening, after Lily had gone to play on the swings, Elizabeth approached Marcus. "Thank you," she said. "I don't know how to repay you for this." "You don't need to repay me. I fired you from your job. Indirectly, but still. Let me fix that at least." Marcus shook his head. "I don't want your charity. It's not charity. It's justice." Elizabeth sat down beside him. "I spoke to the building manager. They'd like to offer you your job back, with a raise. I don't need, Marcus." She looked at him directly. "You're helping my daughter heal. Let me help you survive. That's all I'm asking. Let someone care about you for once." Marcus watched Lily on the swings. Her laughter carried across the playground, a sound he hadn't heard before. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay." Elizabeth smiled, a real smile, the first Marcus had seen from her. Something between them was changing too. Derek, Elizabeth's ex-husband, showed up on a Thursday morning. He wore an expensive suit and drove a black Mercedes. He had not seen Lily in 2 months. He arrived at the park unannounced. Elizabeth was at work. Marcus was with Lily by the fountain. They were feeding breadcrumbs to ducks. "Who the hell are you?" Derek's voice cut through the morning calm. Marcus stood. "I'm a friend. I'm helping Lily." "Helping her?" Derek looked Marcus up and down. "You're the janitor. I saw the video." Lily moved closer to Marcus. Derek pulled out his phone. Started recording. "This is interesting. My ex-wife leaves our daughter with a stranger, a man with no credentials, no background check. Elizabeth knows I'm here," Marcus said calmly. "Does she know you're alone with a 7-year-old girl? In a public park? Unsupervised?" Marcus felt his stomach drop. "It's not like that." "Isn't it?" Derek stepped closer. "What kind of man spends this much time with someone else's child? What do you want from her?" "I'm helping her heal." "Or you're grooming her?" Derek smiled coldly. "That's what the police will think, especially when I show them this video. A grown man, a vulnerable child, her mother nowhere in sight." Lily started to cry. Marcus knelt down beside her. "It's okay. Don't be scared." Derek grabbed his phone. "Don't touch her." "Did everyone see that?" He just touched her. People in the park turned to look. Concerned faces, whispers. Derek called the police. Marcus stood frozen. He wanted to run, to explain, but he knew how this looked. A janitor with a history of loss, a wealthy man's daughter, no witnesses who knew the truth. Within 10 minutes, a police car arrived. Derek met them first, spoke to them privately, pointed at Marcus. The officers approached. "Sir, we need you to come with us." Marcus looked down at Lily. She was sobbing now, reaching for him. "I didn't do anything wrong," Marcus said. "We just need to ask some questions. Please come with us." Marcus looked around the park. Everyone was watching, judging. He held out his wrists. The officer cuffed him. Lily screamed. The interrogation room was small and cold. Marcus sat at a metal table, hands still cuffed. A detective sat across from him, middle-aged, tired eyes. A notepad in front of him. "Tell me about your relationship with Lily Hart." Marcus looked at the table. "I was helping her." "Helping her how?" "Her mother asked me to spend time with her. The girl wasn't speaking, wasn't eating. I helped her feel safe again." "And why would Elizabeth Hart ask a janitor to do that?" Marcus didn't answer. "You understand how this looks, right?" The detective leaned forward. A man with no training, no credentials, spending unsupervised time with a child. Her father says you've been meeting her alone for weeks. Her mother knew. She was always nearby. But not today. Marcus closed his eyes. She had a meeting. I told her I'd wait with Lily until she got there. Do you have children, Mr. Reed? The question cut deep. I had a daughter. She died 4 years ago. The detective wrote something down. I'm sorry for your loss, but you can see how this raises concerns. A man who lost a child, suddenly attaching himself to someone else's. I wasn't attaching myself to anyone. I was trying to help. By being alone with her, by touching her. Marcus stopped himself. He knew how this worked. Anything he said could be twisted, used against him. He thought of Lily crying as they took him away. He thought of Elizabeth finding out. He thought of his son, waiting at home. I didn't do anything wrong, Marcus said quietly. But I know you won't believe me. People like me don't get believed. The detective studied him. People like you? People who clean floors. People who don't matter. The detective closed his notepad. Wait here. He left the room. The door locked behind him. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead. Marcus sat in silence, waiting for a justice he didn't believe would come. Elizabeth stormed into the police station 2 hours later. Her heels echoed through the hallway. Her lawyer followed close behind. Where is Marcus Reed? The desk sergeant looked up. Ma'am, you can't just... I'm Elizabeth Hart. That man was arrested for being with my daughter. I authorized it. I want him released immediately. Ma'am, there's a process. I don't care about your process. Elizabeth slammed her phone on the counter. I have security footage from the park, from my nanny cam, from 3 weeks of documented sessions. Every single one shows exactly what happened. A man helping a traumatized child. Nothing more. The detective appeared from the back. Miss Hart, you arrested an innocent man based on the word of my ex-husband. A man who caused my daughter's trauma in the first place. A man who hasn't seen her in 2 months and suddenly cares about her welfare. The detective crossed his arms. Your ex-husband filed a complaint. We had to investigate. Then investigate this. Elizabeth pulled up her phone. This is footage from today. Watch carefully. Derek approaches. He immediately starts recording. He's not concerned. He's performing. He wanted this to happen. The detective watched the video. Now watch this. Elizabeth swiped to another video. This is from my home security system, 2 days ago. Derek meeting with a private investigator. They're discussing how to discredit Marcus, how to make it look inappropriate. He planned this. The detective's expression changed. Elizabeth leaned forward. Marcus Reed lost his wife and daughter. He lives in a rundown apartment with his son. He works minimum wage and still finds time to help a child he doesn't even know. He asked for nothing. No money, no recognition. Just to help her heal. And you arrested him because a wealthy man made an accusation. The lawyer placed a folder on the counter. We also have affidavits from the park staff, witnesses who've seen every session, testimonies from child psychologists reviewing the footage, all confirming appropriate behavior. The detective picked up the folder, flipped through it. Release him, he said quietly to the sergeant. Elizabeth didn't move. Now! 10 minutes later, Marcus walked out of the holding area. His eyes were hollow, defeated. Elizabeth stepped forward. I'm sorry. I should have protected you better. Marcus looked at her. You came. Of course I came. For the first time since his arrest, Marcus felt something other than fear. He felt believed. That evening, Elizabeth drove Marcus back to his apartment. They sat in the car for a moment before he got out. Thank you, Marcus said, for believing me. I should have anticipated Derek would try something. I'm sorry. Marcus shook his head. You couldn't have known. I should have. Elizabeth looked at him. Can I ask you something? Why did you agree to help Lily? Really? Marcus thought about it. Because I saw myself in her. The fear, the isolation, the feeling that the world isn't safe anymore. I couldn't help my own daughter, but maybe I could help yours." Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears. "You did. She's talking now, eating, sleeping. She drew a picture yesterday of the three of us." "The three of us?" "You, me, and her. In the park." Marcus smiled. The first genuine smile in days. "She's a good kid. She wants to see you. Are you ready for that?" Marcus looked up at his apartment building. Small, worn, but home. "Yeah, I think I am." 2 days later, they met at Elizabeth's house. Not the park, somewhere private, safe. Lily ran to Marcus the moment she saw him. He caught her and lifted her up. "You're okay," she said, touching his face. "I'm okay." They spent the afternoon together. All four of them, Marcus, his son, Elizabeth, and Lily. They ordered pizza, played board games. The children laughed. At one point, Marcus looked across the table at Elizabeth. She was smiling, really smiling. Not the controlled, careful expression she wore at work. Something real. "What?" she asked. "Nothing. Just, this is nice." "It is." Marcus's son leaned over to Lily. "Want to see my comic books?" "Yeah." The children ran off to the other room. Marcus and Elizabeth sat in the sudden quiet. "Thank you," Elizabeth said softly, "for giving her back to me." "You gave me something too," Marcus replied. "Hope." She reached across the table and took his hand. He didn't pull away. 3 weeks later, Elizabeth called a press conference. The viral video of Marcus's humiliation had resurfaced after his arrest. The headlines were cruel. Janitor arrested for suspicious behavior with child. CEO's daughter in danger from stranger. Elizabeth decided the truth needed to be told publicly. The conference room was packed. Journalists, cameras, microphones everywhere. Elizabeth stood at the podium. Marcus sat in the front row. He had tried to refuse, but she insisted. "Thank you for coming," Elizabeth began. 3 months ago, a video went viral. It showed a man being humiliated in a restaurant. That man is Marcus Reed. He's sitting here today. Cameras turned toward Marcus. He kept his eyes down. That video was viewed millions of times. People laughed, made jokes, judged a man they didn't know, but no one asked what happened after. No one asked who he really was. Elizabeth's voice grew stronger. Marcus Reed is a widower, a single father, a man who lost everything and kept going. When my daughter was suffering from trauma, unable to speak or trust anyone, he helped her heal. Not because I paid him, not because he wanted recognition, but because he understood her pain. She looked directly at the cameras. And when my ex-husband falsely accused him, tried to destroy his reputation, Marcus didn't fight back. He accepted it. Because that's what people like him have learned to do. Accept injustice. Accept being invisible. Elizabeth's hands gripped the podium. "I'm here today to say that I was wrong. Wrong to let him be humiliated in that restaurant without saying something. Wrong to think that power and money were the most important things in life. Marcus taught me that dignity doesn't come from wealth. It comes from how we treat others when no one is watching." The room was silent. "I'm also here to announce that Marcus Reed will be joining my company as Director of Community Outreach. We're launching a program to support single parents, working families, and people who've been overlooked by society. Because if we learned anything from this, it's that value isn't measured by job title. It's measured by character." She stepped away from the podium. "Thank you." The room erupted in applause. Marcus stood slowly. Elizabeth reached for his hand. He took it. Together, they walked out. Marcus turned down the director position. Elizabeth was surprised when he came to her office a week later. "I can't take that job," he said. "Why not? You'd be perfect for it." Marcus sat down across from her desk. "Because I'm not meant to sit in an office. I'm meant to be with people. On the ground. Where they are." Elizabeth leaned back in her chair. "What are you saying?" "I want to start something smaller. A support center. For single parents like me. People who work 2 jobs and still can't make rent. People who feel invisible. That's a beautiful idea. I know I don't have the money to... Elizabeth held up her hand. What if I fund it? Not as charity, as an investment. You run it. I provide the resources. Marcus looked at her carefully. Why would you do that? Because you gave me my daughter back. You showed me what real strength looks like. And because... She stopped herself. Because what? Elizabeth stood and walked to the window. Because somewhere along the way, you healed me too. I was so focused on control, on power, on never being vulnerable again. But watching you with Lily, I realized that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking and still choosing to care. Marcus joined her at the window. The city stretched out below them, lights flickering in the dusk. My wife used to say that hurt people either spread their pain or heal it, Marcus said quietly. For a long time I just carried mine, but Lily taught me I could do something with it. Elizabeth turned to face him. You taught me that too. They stood close. The space between them felt different now. No longer the distance between CEO and janitor, between power and poverty. Just 2 people who had found each other in the wreckage of their lives. So we do this together? Elizabeth asked. Marcus smiled. Together. She reached out. He took her hand. Outside, the sun was setting. But inside, something new was beginning. Something neither of them had expected. Something that felt like home. 1 year later, the Hope Center opened on a Saturday morning in spring. It was a modest building in a quiet neighborhood. Not grand, not expensive, but warm. Welcoming. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was small. No press, no cameras, just the people who mattered. Marcus stood at the entrance with Elizabeth beside him. Their children played on the grass nearby. Lily was laughing. His son was teaching her how to throw a football. You did it, Elizabeth said. Marcus looked at the building, at the sign above the door. We did it. Inside, the center was filled with resources. Job training programs, childcare services, support groups, a food pantry, everything Marcus wished he'd had 4 years ago when his world collapsed. An older woman approached them. She was holding her grandson's hand. Is this really free? Marcus nodded. It's really free. Why? Because someone helped me when I needed it. This is how I pass it forward. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Marcus watched her walk inside with her grandson. He felt Elizabeth's hand slip into his. You know what today is? She asked. The opening. It's also the anniversary of the day Lily first held your hand. Marcus looked at the children. Lily had grown so much. She was thriving now. Happy. Safe. I never thought I'd get here, Marcus said quietly. After everything I lost, I thought that was it. That my life was just survival. What changed? A little girl reached out her hand, and I decided to take it. Elizabeth leaned her head against his shoulder. I'm glad you did. They stood together, watching families arrive, watching hope walk through the doors. Marcus thought about the restaurant, about the humiliation, about the arrest, about all the moments when he wanted to give up. But he didn't, and because he didn't, others wouldn't have to give up either. Sometimes healing doesn't come from power. It doesn't come from wealth. It comes from one person choosing to see another, to care, to stay. That's all it takes. One hand reaching out, and another brave enough to hold on.